Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk, and recently I participated in the very popular Making a Game in 1 Hour challenge. So in this video, I'm going to be showcasing the game that I made. But before we do get in the challenge, let me explain the rules that I've set for myself. The first rule is I must make every single thing from scratch. That means I can't use any scripts or assets that I've created before. The next is I can't use any tutorials or websites to help me out during the process. And finally, I must make the actual game in 1 hour, and no exceptions. So yeah, let's get started. So I started off this challenge by creating a new Unity project, and by the time I actually had to boot it up, it was pretty much 11:05, so that's when I'm starting this challenge. So coming into this challenge, I had an idea of the game I wanted to make. You basically play as a square, and you'd have to collect bits that spawn randomly around the map. For every bit you collect, you'll get 1 point. For every bit you collect, you'll also have to get to the next bit faster and collect it, and if you don't, you'll die. I thought this was a pretty simple and cool concept, and something that I could definitely accomplish in 1 hour. So as you can see, I started off by creating the player and his movement script, and sooner than later, I had my player moving around, which is a really simple movement script in place. Then I started working on this bit, or the thing I would have to make my player collect, and I also changed the background of the game so it didn't look as plain. I also made the UI for my score, and I set up my score system so whenever my player walks over a bit, he will add 1 point to his score and it'll update the score UI. I then want to make sure that I can get my bits spawning randomly, so I created this thing where every single time I collect my bit, it will spawn a new bit that will spawn randomly anywhere on the screen. And after a few more minutes of coding and setting things up, my player can now run around and collect bits, and every time he does collect a bit, it'll add a point to his score, and it'll spawn a new bit at a random position. You might have seen that last clip that my player can still actually leave the screen, so I created some borders for the player, and so now he can't leave the screen. I think it also makes the game look a little nicer. By now, my game was playable, but there really was no challenge, and it wasn't really that fun. So I started working on this timer system, and personally, I'm really not too good with timers yet. I just don't really make them too much by myself, and I mostly use tutorials to help me out with them. I tried to get one working by myself, so I set up some UI and started fiddling around with it, but it wasn't really working too well, and so I was kind of stuck with that for quite a long time. And this is where the story gets a little funny. Actually, while I was recording this, I had an electrician inside of my house working on some stuff, and unfortunately did have to cut off the power for about like 5 minutes, so I had to take a 5-minute break, and I was back after 5 minutes and working on my timer system again. So yeah, that's why anything looks funny, just know that. But yeah, pretty much I started working on it, and after quite a while, I did actually get my timer working somehow, and I made it so you can only see like 2 digits of it, which I think looks pretty nice. And you might have seen me, I also started working on pretty much the core mechanic for my game, so pretty much whenever you go to a bit, every single time you walk over a bit, you will have less time to get to that bit the next time you go to it. I thought this would be pretty hard, but it was actually pretty simple. So yeah, every single time you get to the bit, you'll have 0.1 seconds less to get to your next bit, which I think is a really cool mechanic and is surprisingly easy to set up. Now I wanted to work on my game loop, so I created this game over screen whenever the timer reaches 0, and it'll stop you from moving, and it'll display your score, and you also have the option to restart. I really wanted to add a high score system, but I really just didn't have any time to do that, so yeah. Soon I had my game over system set up, so when you do run out of time, it will display the game over screen, but I still had to get the your score section working. Eventually I got the score updating, but I still had another issue. Pretty much whenever I tried to restart my game, it just wouldn't work, and I spent way too long trying to figure this out. And eventually I figured out that it was just that my rect transforms of my text and stuff were just way too big for my thing, but I wish I figured that out earlier, but I didn't, so I ended up moving the restart button out of the game over screen, which looks kind of weird, but at least it works, but I'm glad I figured out the issue in the end. And if you're wondering how I switch scenes, all I did was have this super simple scene manager script. And then the final thing I started working on was just a home screen and a menu for the game. So I made this super simple menu, and I just named the game Bits because I couldn't really think of anything else. And yeah, I also wrote some descriptions on how to play the game, and saying it was made in 1 hour. And I got those buttons working and hooked up, and just like that, I was pretty much out of time. I gave myself a few extra minutes to finish up the game because I didn't have time to work on the game when my power was out, but just like that, the challenge was over and I completed my game. I then took some time to export my game and put it on itch, which I'm not counting as actual time for the jam, but yeah, I pretty much finished my game and I was pretty happy with it. So yeah, that's pretty much the game that I made in an hour. I'm actually really proud of it, and I can't really find too many glitches or errors with it so far. It does get kind of impossible as you go on and get into the 30s, and around then, once you start having little time to actually get to the bit, it kind of does get impossible, but I actually did make a system, so it shouldn't get less than more than 1.5 seconds, so you should have at least 1.5 seconds every single time. But yeah, besides that, I think it's actually a pretty fun game. I mean, for an hour, I'm actually really happy with it. I think it does have some replayability value, so if you guys do want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. Let me know your highest scores, I'd be interested to see them, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I was making this video because I am not going to upload a Slimekeep devlog this week. I just want to make some more content for you guys. Pretty much it's just I haven't had enough time, and the BenBonk game jam, if you haven't joined already, it's starting in 1 day from the time you'll see this video. And so yeah, I hope you guys did like this video. If you want to play it, and as I said again, or leave a like and subscribe, that'd be pretty much appreciated. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.